It's January 1776. It's been 9 months since Lexington and Concord, and 6 months since General Washington took command of the Continental Army. It was only weeks earlier that the Continental Congress was notified that King George III refused to read their olive branch petition, which was a last attempt at reconciliation. It was also the same month that Thomas Paine's pamphlet, Common Sense, was published, which helped to turn the tide of public opinion towards independence. According to encyclopediavirginia.org, it's estimated that about 20% of the colonists at the time were loyalists or Tories, although that number is thought to be much higher in British strongholds such as New York. For my history lesson, I've chosen two primary source documents that were both written in January 1776. The first document is called the Tory Act, which was published by the members of the Second Continental Congress on January 2nd, 1776. This resolution described how the colonies should handle those Americans who remained loyal to the British and King George. It called on colonial committees to indoctrinate those they referred to as honest and well-meaning but uninformed people by enlightening them as to the, and I quote, origin, nature, and extent of the present controversy. However, those who the delegates described as unworthy Americans who had collaborated with the British would be left to local councils to decide their fate. With no actual authority over the colonies, Congress was merely offering their suggestion that dedicated Tories should be disarmed or closely observed. My second document is a letter written by an unnamed freeholder addressed to the magistrates and electors of Kings County in the colony of New York, dated January 23rd, 1776. The author of this letter argued emphatically that it was the duty of all the colonists to stay loyal to King George, who he referred to as the rightful and gracious sovereign Lord King. The author invokes the Bible and claims that disloyalty to the king is also disloyalty to God. He goes on to argue that colonists owe it to their wives and family that they should stay loyal to the mother country in order to ensure future happiness. The author ends with a bit of hyperbole as he states that failure to pledge allegiance to the king and allowing the colonists to take over would be the equivalent of exchanging freedom for slavery. Many new students to American history courses are unaware that the Patriots not only had to fight against the British Army, but they also had to contend with an invisible enemy, sometimes disguised as their neighbor, and in some instances a family member. These documents are intended to give the students a clear insight into how each side felt about King George III and their attachment to England. The objective of the lesson would be for the students to compare and contrast these documents in order to give them a better understanding of the divisions within the American Revolution. With one side referring to King George as a tyrant and the other comparing him to God, the students can use these documents in order to do further research on the demographics of each group and why each side had such contrasting views of the same person.